My name is Dev Randhawa. I'm Chairman and CEO at F3 Uranium. We are focused on the Athabasca, looking for exploration for uranium, both at the basement and at the unconformity. We've been very fortunate to be one of the few companies to actually have a discovery and now trying to expand it. Ours is called the JR Zone.
Dev, good to see you. Right, there's a short, sharp one here. We talked about it last time, the Spinout F4. It's happened. Give us the details.
Well, we're quite excited, to be able to take out properties that aren't getting any attention, but they've got actually some joint ventures attached to it. Like, for example, Murphy Lake, someone also put up $18 million, to earn their 70%. So it's got a good group of properties, and so we're just, unfortunately, a lot of this is just paperwork, audits, meeting the TSX requirements, and so it's just all that. But we're ready. Functionally, we're ready to go start drilling, and we're quite excited. Obviously, our flagship in F4 will be Murphy Lake. It's ready to drill. Sooner we get the drills going, better. That's what we like. But unfortunately, sometimes, when you're dealing with being a public company, there are a lot of restrictions about spin-outs, timing, new audits, and et cetera. So I think we put a news release out updating everybody last week.
Right. Okay. Well, Canadian Gold Camps is the partner that you're doing this with. Explain to people new to the uranium space, and I guess more broadly, exploration companies in the Canadian market, is like, how can a new company can take an existing asset of yours and go and raise, money to be able to eventually spend $18 million on this thing, whereas perhaps that wouldn't be such a good idea if you did it.
It's about track record. Behind them are strong financial players, and also SPR, the Spinout. They've gone private from them. Peter Grosskopf and Dave Wardlow, they're supporting it. At the end of the day, raising money always comes down to the track record of the leaders. Have they made money for investors before? If they have, they're likely to get more money. So that's what they have, is an excellent. We're going to run the technical, so that the technical is being run by a group who's found 3 discoveries in the basin. Nobody's done that before. So it's a good technical leadership from us. The financial piece, and they too believe that if we're going to reach any of our goals, the green energy goals, we need nuclear power, and all the way back, as you reverse that equation, you need more uranium. We're already at a deficit. We're not producing it. We're not mining enough uranium now. And if you see some of the goals that are the politicians will push, by 2050, completely green and all that, and to push for EV, it's like the same story, for copper and everything else. If we want to get where we want to go, we need a lot more uranium, a lot more energy, a lot more copper. It's the same story. If where we want to go in a cleaner planet.
Well, and what's also going to need is a lot more money. So I think groups like this are able to raise money. It's interesting that they choose uranium for sure. We better talk about, and people can read up on the terms of the deal, and as it's confirmed, you can, I guess, reassure the market that it's when at the timing and so forth. Let's get on to JR, because you hit some pretty you announced some pretty big numbers there on that.
It's certainly, we don't know how much more it will grow, how much more we'll find, but obviously, some people, I think Haywood feels there might be over 20 million pounds, 25, but we hit another hole, 12 meters, anything over 2%, basically, in my opinion, is high grade. And that's what we've hit again in another zone, in that same area. We want to make sure that we get it, because if we want to do a maiden resource next year, you need to have certain standards as you hand over this information to a third party to give you a number for a maiden resource. You need to have that many holes that are so many separated apart, and so that's part of our process too, is to prepare for a maiden resource.
Right.
but the numbers speak for themselves. Certainly, there are little parts you get to high uranium, 30, 60%. But the key is to have an average over 2% to be considered high grade in the basin, which is ridiculously high. Like 2 ounces of gold, if you're some of the numbers I've seen. So it's very significant.
Okay, and let's talk about the end game here, right? So you talk about eventually kind of getting up to.
Sorry, let me just finish on that for one thing.
Sure.
All deposits are not equal. One, you've got, as I mentioned, the 2% grade, but they also need to be shallow. Most of we start at 150 and go 200 down, because there are discoveries in the basin, but they're down to 800 meters, which makes drilling and mining eventually very expensive. So you need high grade, but you also need depth. So I should have added that. Sorry.
No, and fair point. Certainly, we need to a comp with some of the other players in the basin at the moment, because there's a few things that will hold these companies back, and part of it's going to be around the ability to build. You've got Denison in there, where we put a $15 million investment in here. You're finding the grade. You're getting towards that kind of resource. What's the end game for investors here of F3 uranium?
Right now it's a bear market, so the players aren't really talking to each other. But we need an event in uranium, whether the Russian uranium being banned actually has impact, and you start to see utilities stepping in and buying more uranium, or we hit another area. So this is a huge property. We've got A1, B1, A2, A3, A4. We've got a lot of land just in this area. And given that you only need a couple 100 meters by 100 meters to have a deposit, that's a lot of land. So our goal is to show to the investment world that it's not a pod, that we have another pod along this necklace. Because if you look at other deposits, the same thing. With, for example, FCU and the Triple R, they're pods, right? So we have to prove that we have a system. If it's a system, then the stock will be much stronger. You saw Alaska make a discovery, stock jumped up 50%. So what we control is, having enough money and drilling in the right spot with a good team. And you need some luck too. So we need to, and when you don't find uranium, you do learn. And that's one thing about our team. We know that, okay, we're not going to drill here, we'll drill here. So it's a learning curve. It's a human artificial intelligence, right? That you learn as you go. So for us, we have like 35 million in the bank. We've got lots of money to drill. We just raised 10 million. It was raised with the charity flow through, more like 50 cents a share. So it was 56 even, but the point is we raised money at a premium from the charity flow throughs. That gives us more than enough money to go after these various targets we have. Like I said, we've got A1, B1, but we've also got A3. We've got others all along A1. We want to be sure. So we have lots of targets, lots of money, good people doing it. That's what we control. That's how we can get the stock to go up. Well, we need an outside source otherwise.
Well, let's stick with the bit you can control first, and we'll bump over to the stuff that perhaps is out of everyone's control, such as sanctions and waivers and so forth. With the stuff you can control, that's a ton of money. You got a lot of optionality about how many drills you allocate to this. But what are you doing in terms of the targeting and use of newer technologies? Because we've seen some companies coming using newer technology. Talk about human AI, but maybe actual regular AI as well. What's it doing for you?
Well, we have, I guess it's a competition stuff, though I don't remember that's not using AI. Let's put it that way. We started last year looking at it and helping us determine better how to drill. Yes, we are, as we speak, developing AI to assess where we've drilled and where better to drill on our properties. We're also doing the entire basin. See that maybe their properties, just to eliminate human error, basically, is what we're trying to do. So we started that last year. For competitive reasons, we're not going to disclose a whole lot of that. But I know lots of people are. Randall's been doing it for a long time. The guy told me last year, everybody that's not using it, you're a fool. Not to use, basically you're trying to figure out is, if you had if you tick all these boxes and you drill, what did you find? And I hope it becomes predictive for you. So you're trying to eliminate human error and bias. And so we're doing that. And then every other, whether it's gravity, our guys have found 3 deposits. Nobody else has done that. So we've always done, like in Triple R, we did something crazier. We actually, it was a very shallow lake. We took a boat and ran like a scintillometer along the bottom of the lake, and that gave us targets. So, remember, we're the ones that found the west side of the basin. We took an airplane very close to the ground, measuring where the boulders were. We were on the airplane close enough, we're trying to find boulders or outcrops. We found boulders, which led to Triple R, which then next door to us, NextGen was able to raise money and go drill and found maybe, the world's best deposit. So there is nothing we're afraid of, nothing we won't try as a team. And it's been in our DNA to be different from others going way back to 2012, 13. So you have to keep your mind open. But thankfully, Ray and Sam are that way. And our previous leader, Ross, you've got to be. So we are using AI, and we'll continue to always, try different things. And we have, and thankfully it's worked, and sometimes it hasn't. But we're in it's a very risky business. I mean, how many guys are in the basin spending money? How many great drill holes have you seen over the last 12 months? Us, 2%. Not much.
No, it's not. And I think we've seen a few of them kind of segue out of actual exploration into taking position as prospect generators, right? Which is fine too.
Yeah.
But I get your point.
We do both because we had so many projects. We could say we'll focus on these top 4, and then here, who else wants to? Because the entire basin is full. Money goes where it's loved, and money generally was in uranium for the last year. We've certainly seen it move towards copper and other things. Because today, we talked about money is very fleeting. And money just moves around where it can jump in, and if it doesn't see it, it gets impatient. Money definitely is impatient today than I remember, 10 years ago. And part of it's because information moves much quicker today, right? Something happens somewhere right away. Everybody knows because the internet. The old days, it was newspapers. It was much slower information getting to the people.
It's a bit of that. And I think the investment psychology is an interesting one to discuss, and probably one we can discuss ad nauseum. But there's a very lot of impatient money as well, which doesn't necessarily factor perhaps not doing the work at the beginning and trying to understand what the management teams, are they good, are they not good, what have they done before? Actually genuinely looking at the asset, being able to interpret it. And not kind of skipping off at the first sign of something shiny around the corner. But that's a discussion for another day, Dev. Your shed register is pretty strong, obviously, with the Dennis on the board and some of the great and the good.
Yeah. Only thing bad about a bad market, the only thing bad about it, besides people being upset at the company while their stock is down, is hard to raise money. I can assure you that if we go out now, we did this a month ago, we raised our money. If we go out and raise money now, look, with the stock, you get a much lower price because the stock's come off. Number 2, there's a capital gains tax coming into Canada as of the 28th, 25th, I think. So it's put a real damp in Canada on the capital gains tax. So between all that, money is going to get more expensive going forward. So being well-funded is super crucial, and going forward. And so you got to be more careful with your money, not just because we don't know what 6 months from now brings. We just don't know. But we're well funded, great targets, great people, and those are the fundamentals. JR Zone is high grade and it's shallow. That's the high points, and you drive forward.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think, yeah, the capital gains introduction is something quite special from the Canadian government right now, which we
Well,
let's not go to politics.
It's to me, it's a risky business, and and that's sets apart countries as entrepreneurs. And if you take away that
Incentive
for incentive, for putting money into risky things, I mean, look at America. Where all the big ideas come from? Generally, America, because the way their tax system is set up incentivizes people to take a risk versus putting the money in the bank. Okay, go buy a dividend stock. You don't want to buy, and then you want to buy something else. So these countries are built on risk, and now you've got these governments who I would call left progressive, that to win more votes, they think they're beating on the rich, but they're also beating up, the small entrepreneur, the small business guy, not Bill Gates. They're beating up on the small business guy.
Yeah, I agree. It's happening everywhere. It's happening here, and it's not good. It's not good. We need entrepreneurs, we need risk takers, but we need to incentivize them to do that, to create the jobs, create the revenue, and all those wonderful things that new businesses do. Just finish off on a little bit more macro again. Conversation, because it goes back to the question I asked earlier in terms of what the future looks like for you guys, because, and I guess it's just on a lot of things we talked about today, but you've got conversations about Russian sanctions, which said, well, hey, that means a lot less product hitting Western shores. You've got waivers which are being talked about as being available. Some of the market says, well, actually, utilities won't take advantage of that because they don't want to be penalized at a later date should they apply for a waiver now. Others saying, well, actually, it's business as usual because that's the kind of waiver component is far dated, 2030. So where do you think that it's going to get, and what does that mean for Athabasca based projects?
Oh, I mean, I think the Athabasca is perfectly situated because we're not, we're domestic. Basically, the way I look at it, North America, Americans have been getting uranium in Canada forever, and I still think we're strong partners. So I think it's good. Athabasca, high grade, low cost if you find a big enough deposit, and we're not. The rest is political. The rest will be utilities lobbying for more waivers. That. They don't want to pay more. The question is, what will be available to them, and that's you're speculating what that looks like. But uranium is still holding up. The problem is when the overall uranium market is like that, buyers of uranium like Sprott's fund, they're trading at a discount. So until they trade to a premium, they can't sell their stock and turn around and buy more uranium. So we just got to be patient in the overall market. And so that we have Sprott back in there, sopping up the stuff that, keeps hitting the bid. They need to. And that's why, it's come off, $4 or $5, big deal. I think if you had told us a year ago, uranium is going to be, close to 150, we'd all been very happy. But the stocks are trading like uranium is 50. That's just how, the market is. But it's a great opportunity. If you're a momentum player, they won't touch stock. But if you're a long-term believer in, net zero, you're going to get there through nuclear power, and that is least now common sense in every conversation. And so investors got to look at the big picture. That's not easy because markets are run by fear and greed. And right now, there's a lot of fear.
There's a lot of fear. I suspect not for your shareholders with all that money in the bank. It's down to you. Go make another discovery.
Thank you.
And take it from there. We'll see you soon.
Thanks very much.